The Montessori Way, A Parent's Journey to Educational Freedom. Ciro, Irmici. Copyright 2024 Ciro, Irmici. All rights reserved. Discovering the Montessori Method. As parents, we embark on one of life's most profound and unpredictable journeys. From the moment we welcome our children into the world, we are filled with hopes, dreams, and an innate desire to give them the best possible start in life. We imagine a future where they are happy, confident, and capable of navigating life's challenges with ease. Yet as they grow, many of us find ourselves questioning the systems and traditions we thought were essential. This is especially true when it comes to education. I was one of those parents. I believed in the conventional path of education, structured classrooms, standardized testing, and a focus on academic achievement as the key to success. But as I watched my child go through the motions of traditional schooling, I sensed something was missing. The spark of curiosity that had once shone brightly in their eyes began to dim. Learning became a chore, a series of tasks to complete rather than an adventure to embark upon. I could see it wasn't just about the grades or the reports. It was about the joy of learning itself slipping away. That realization planted a seed of doubt in my mind. It was during this period of questioning and searching that I stumbled upon the Montessori method. At first, it seemed like just another educational trend, one of many promising alternatives. Yet the more I read, the more I felt a deep resonance with its core principles. Montessori was not merely a different way to educate, it was a fundamentally different way to see children and their potential. It spoke of respecting the child as an individual, recognizing their intrinsic motivation to learn, and creating environments that foster independence, curiosity, and a love for discovery. But as intriguing as the ideas were, I still hesitated. After all, stepping away from the familiar path of traditional education felt risky. The questions swirled around in my mind: would it work? Was it practical? Could I, a parent with no formal training, create a Montessori environment at home? And what would that even look like? I realized I needed more than theories and principles. I needed stories. I needed to hear from others who had walked this path, who had faced the same doubts, and who could offer insight and encouragement from their own experiences. That's when I began to meet other parents and educators who had embraced the Montessori philosophy. Through conversations, community groups, and countless cups of coffee, I learned that I was not alone in my concerns and hopes for my child's education. I listened to stories of transformation. Children who once struggled to engage in traditional classrooms suddenly blossomed in Montessori settings. Parents who, like me, had been anxious and unsure, grew into confident guides for their children's learning journeys. These stories became the catalyst for my own transformation. I decided to take the plunge, to embrace this new way of thinking and see where it would lead us. I learned that Montessori is not about a rigid set of rules or a one-size-fits-all approach. It is about trusting the process, observing with patience, and following the child. It's about understanding that learning is not confined to the four walls of a classroom, but is woven into the fabric of daily life. It's about letting go of the urge to control, and instead creating an environment where a child's natural curiosity can lead the way. This book is the result of my journey, a journey of discovery, doubt, growth, and most importantly, connection. It's a journey that has taught me to see my child in a new light, to honor their individual path, and to celebrate the small, everyday moments that make up a lifetime of learning. In these pages, you will find not just the principles of Montessori education, but real-life experiences, practical advice, and heartfelt reflections. You will hear from parents and educators who have dared to question the status quo, and who have found not just an alternative to traditional schooling, but a philosophy that resonates deeply with their values and aspirations for their children. Whether you are a parent, an educator, or simply someone curious about a different approach to learning, I invite you to join me on this journey. Together, we will explore what it means to truly see our children, to trust in their innate ability to learn and grow, and to embrace the freedom that comes with letting go of old paradigms. This is not just a book about Montessori education. It is a call to all who believe in the potential of children to lead us toward a more compassionate, creative, and connected world. It is a reminder that, as parents and educators, we too are learners, ever evolving alongside our children as we discover the Montessori way. So take a deep breath, let go of preconceived notions, and open your heart to a new perspective. The journey to educational freedom starts here. The awakening, breaking free from traditional education. A parent's frustration with the conventional path. For many of us, the journey into the world of education begins with a strong belief in the systems we grew up with. We enroll our children in schools that mirror our own experiences, trusting that they will receive the best education possible, one that will prepare them for a successful future. We fill their backpacks with sharpened pencils, fresh notebooks, and a sense of hope. Yet as the school days unfold, we start to notice signs that things aren't quite as we expected. There's a shift in their demeanor, a weariness that wasn't there before. Our once vibrant, curious children seem dulled by the daily grind of homework, tests, and rigid schedules. For me, this realization came slowly but powerfully. I watched as my child, who was once eager to learn and explore, began to dread going to school. The spark in their eyes seemed to fade with each passing day. The rigid structure, the pressure to conform, and the focus on grades and performance over understanding and passion took a visible toll. I began to see the limitations of a traditional classroom setting, where children were expected to sit still, follow instructions, and compete for the best marks. It became painfully clear that this system, designed decades ago, no longer fit the needs of modern children. It was like trying to fit a square peg into a round hole, and my child was suffering for it. The search for something more, this growing sense of dissatisfaction, led me to start questioning everything I knew about education. I began to ask myself what I truly wanted for my child. Was it just academic success, or was there something deeper? I realized that more than anything, I wanted my child to be happy, confident, and excited to learn. I wanted them to feel that their education was not a chore but an adventure. I wanted them to be able to think critically, solve problems creatively, and work well with others. I knew there had to be a better way, something that could nurture my child's mind and spirit rather than simply filling it with facts. My search for answers led me down many paths. I explored homeschooling, charter schools, and alternative education models. I read books, attended workshops, and spoke with other parents. Each path had its merits, but none resonated deeply with me, until I discovered Montessori. Initially, I was skeptical. Could a method, developed over a century ago by Dr. Maria Montessori, truly be relevant in today's fast-paced, technology-driven world? Yet, as I dug deeper, I found that Montessori wasn't just another method. It was a completely different way of looking at education and child development. The Montessori revelation. The more I learned about Montessori, the more I was drawn in. I discovered that Montessori is built on the idea that children are naturally eager for knowledge and capable of initiating learning in a supportive, thoughtfully prepared environment. This was a revelation to me, an approach that respected children as whole beings and trusted in their intrinsic motivation to learn. Unlike traditional models that impose a one-size-fits-all curriculum, Montessori recognizes that each child is unique, with their own interests, pace, and ways of learning. I was particularly struck by the Montessori emphasis on following the child. This idea, that learning should be child-centered and guided by their natural curiosity, was both simple and profound. It wasn't about pushing information into children's heads. It was about creating an environment where they could discover, explore, and grow at their own pace. It was about nurturing a love for learning that would last a lifetime. The more I thought about it, the more I realized that this was exactly what I had been searching for, a path that honored my child's individuality and potential. The moment of decision, but making the decision to move away from traditional education was not easy. It required a leap of faith, a willingness to step into the unknown. Like many parents, I was filled with doubts and fears. Would this work? What if my child fell behind? How would they adapt to a Montessori environment? The stakes felt incredibly high. However, I also knew that staying on the same path wasn't an option. I had seen enough to know that the conventional approach was stifling my child's love for learning and creativity. It was clear that something had to change. I remember the day I finally decided to take the plunge. I had been reading a book by a Montessori educator who spoke about the joy of seeing children light up when they were given the freedom to explore their interests. She talked about the transformation that happens when children are allowed to learn in a way that makes sense to them. Her words resonated deeply with me. I knew that I wanted that kind of joy and discovery for my child. I wanted them to feel empowered, engaged, and excited about learning again. Breaking away from fear and embracing trust, making the transition to Montessori required me to let go of a lot of preconceived notions and fears. I had to trust in a new process, one that was fundamentally different from anything I had experienced before. It meant embracing a new role, not as the controller of my child's education, but as a guide and facilitator. It also meant letting go of the pressure to measure success by grades and test scores, and instead focusing on my child's overall development, well-being, and happiness. This shift was both liberating and daunting. It required patience, openness, and a willingness to learn alongside my child. But in stepping away from the traditional model, I found a new sense of freedom, not just for my child, but for myself as well. I learned to see learning not as a linear process, but as a journey filled with curiosity, wonder, and endless possibilities. The first steps on a new journey. As we took our first steps into the Montessori world, I realized that we were not alone. I began to connect with other parents and educators who had also chosen this path, each with their own stories of doubt, discovery, and transformation. We became a community, supporting one another, sharing insights, and celebrating the small victories along the way. Together, we learned that breaking away from traditional education was not just about finding a new method, it was about embracing a new philosophy of life, one that values compassion, creativity, and the boundless potential of every child. This chapter marks the beginning of our journey. It is the story of awakening to new possibilities, of daring to question the status quo, and of choosing a path that feels right even when it is unfamiliar. It is a journey that is still unfolding, filled with both challenges and rewards. But more than anything, it is a journey driven by love, hope, and a deep belief in the power of education to transform not just minds but hearts and lives. Understanding Montessori, a new way to see learning. The core principles of Montessori education. At the heart of Montessori education lies a profound respect for the child as an individual with unique abilities, interests, and developmental timelines. Unlike traditional education systems that often emphasize uniformity and conformity, Montessori celebrates diversity in learning styles and paces. This philosophy, developed by Dr. Maria Montessori over a century ago, is built on several core principles that still resonate strongly today: child-led learning, prepared environments, mixed-age classrooms, and the role of the educator as a guide rather than an instructor. Each of these principles interlocks to create a harmonious and holistic approach to education. Child-led learning is perhaps the most defining aspect of Montessori. In a Montessori classroom, children are not passive recipients of information, but active participants in their learning journey. They choose activities based on their interests and curiosity, working at their own pace. This method encourages deep engagement and intrinsic motivation. Learning becomes not just a task to be completed, but a process to be embraced with enthusiasm. It is this principle that empowers children to become self-directed learners, capable of thinking critically and solving problems independently. The prepared environment, a space for growth and exploration. In Montessori, the concept of the prepared environment is essential. It refers to a thoughtfully designed space that fosters independence, exploration, and a sense of order. Dr. Montessori believed that the environment should serve as an educational tool, offering children the freedom to move, choose, and work independently while still providing enough structure to guide their learning. In a Montessori environment, every material, piece of furniture, and activity is intentionally selected and placed to meet the developmental needs of the children it serves. Unlike traditional classrooms filled with desks in neat rows and a teacher's chalkboard dominating the front, Montessori environments are open and inviting. They are filled with natural light, soft colors, and materials made from natural substances like wood, glass, and fabric. There are distinct areas for practical life activities, sensory exploration, language, mathematics, and cultural studies, all within reach of the child. Low shelves are stocked with hands-on learning materials that are accessible, neatly organized, and designed to entice children to explore and learn. The idea is that children are naturally drawn to order and beauty, and a well-prepared environment can stimulate their curiosity and promote concentration. In this environment, learning feels more like an adventure than a chore. A child may choose to pour water, practice buttoning, work with sandpaper letters, or explore mathematical concepts using colorful beads. Each material is self-correcting, meaning that it allows children to discover mistakes on their own without adult intervention, fostering independence and problem-solving skills. As children interact with their environment, they develop a strong sense of ownership over their learning, building confidence and competence. The role of the Montessori guide: facilitating, not dictating. Another cornerstone of Montessori education is the redefined role of the adult in the learning process. In Montessori, the teacher is often referred to as a guide. Unlike traditional teachers who lead the classroom and direct learning, Montessori guides are there to observe, support, and facilitate rather than dictate. Their primary role is to connect the child with the environment, introduce materials at the right time, and offer gentle guidance without interfering with the child's natural learning process. This subtle, yet powerful shift in the educator's role requires a deep understanding of each child's developmental stage, interests, and needs. A Montessori guide must practice patience, restraint, and acute observation skills. They are trained to step back and allow children to learn from their own experiences, even if that includes moments of struggle or frustration. This is not always easy, especially for adults who have been conditioned to step in and correct immediately. However, the Montessori approach recognizes that such challenges are crucial for developing resilience and independence. The guide's work is both art and science, art in the way they gracefully balance when to intervene and when to allow a child to work through a problem, and science in the way they understand child development and use that knowledge to inform their interactions. It is a deeply respectful approach that honors the child's capacity for self-directed learning and growth. Mixed-age classrooms, learning from one another. One of the unique aspects of Montessori education is the mixed-age classroom. Typically, Montessori classrooms group children in 3-year age spans, such as ages 3 to 6, 6 to 9, and 9 to 12. This structure allows younger children to learn from older peers, while older children reinforce their own learning by teaching concepts they have already mastered. It creates a collaborative, rather than competitive, learning environment where children are encouraged to help each other, work together, and develop a sense of community. This model mimics real-life social structures, where individuals of different ages, skills, and experiences interact and learn from one another. It fosters a sense of responsibility in older children and provides natural opportunities for mentorship. Younger children, on the other hand, look up to their older classmates and are inspired to reach new levels of understanding and capability. It is a system that cultivates empathy, leadership, and cooperation, skills that are essential for success beyond the classroom. Emphasis on hands-on learning and concrete experiences. Montessori education emphasizes learning through direct hands-on experiences rather than passive memorization of abstract concepts. This approach is grounded in the understanding that children learn best by doing. Montessori materials are designed to be self-correcting and sensory-rich, allowing children to explore concepts such as size, shape, texture, color, and weight through direct manipulation. For example, instead of learning math through rote memorization of numbers and formulas, Montessori children use materials like the golden bead set to visually and tangibly understand the decimal system. They learn addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division by manipulating these beads and seeing how quantities change. This hands-on approach helps children build a deep intuitive understanding of mathematical concepts, which lays a solid foundation for future abstract reasoning. This method extends to other subjects as well. Language is taught through sensory experiences, such as tracing sandpaper letters and matching them with their corresponding sounds. Geography and science come alive through puzzles, maps, and nature-based activities. Every lesson is designed to be a multi-sensory experience that engages the whole child, mind, body, and spirit. Trusting the child's inner guide, a path to lifelong learning. One of the most profound lessons I learned as I delved deeper into Montessori was the importance of trusting the child's inner guide, their natural curiosity and desire to learn. Montessori education is not about filling a child's mind with predetermined knowledge, but about fostering an environment where their innate love for learning can flourish. This idea resonates with every parent and educator who has ever witnessed a child's face light up with excitement as they make a new discovery. When children are given the freedom to explore topics that interest them, they are more likely to develop a genuine love for learning that extends far beyond the classroom. They learn to ask questions, seek out answers, and develop a lifelong passion for discovery. Montessori does not confine learning to a specific time or place. It permeates every aspect of life, encouraging children to become inquisitive, thoughtful, and engaged citizens of the world. A new vision for education. Understanding Montessori means embracing a vision of education that is fundamentally different from the norm. It requires a shift from seeing education as a one-size-fits-all system to recognizing it as a personalized journey for each child. Montessori encourages us to trust in the child's ability to learn naturally and to create environments that support their holistic development, academically, socially, emotionally, and physically. This chapter serves as an introduction to the Montessori philosophy and its guiding principles. It challenges us to rethink what education could be if we prioritize the child's natural development, curiosity, and joy in learning. For parents and educators who have only known the traditional model, this may feel like uncharted territory. Yet as we begin to understand the depth and potential of Montessori, we see that it offers a path filled with promise and possibility, a path that honors the true essence of learning and growth. The prepared environment, setting the stage for growth. The philosophy behind the prepared environment. In Montessori education, the concept of the prepared environment is central to fostering independence, concentration, and a love for learning in children. Dr. Maria Montessori believed that the environment is a critical component of a child's development, functioning as a silent teacher that guides them toward discovery and growth. Unlike traditional classrooms that often dictate rigid learning paths, the Montessori environment is designed to empower children to take charge of their own learning journey. It is carefully crafted to meet the developmental needs of each child, promoting self-directed exploration, freedom of choice, and a deep sense of order and beauty. The prepared environment is more than just a physical space. It is an embodiment of Montessori principles. Every aspect of the environment, from the layout of the furniture to the selection of materials, is meticulously thought out to create a space that is both inviting and purposeful. It is a place where children feel respected, valued, and capable. The prepared environment allows children to engage with the world on their own terms, fostering a sense of ownership, independence, and intrinsic motivation. This chapter explores the elements that make up a prepared environment, offering practical insights into how parents and educators can create spaces that support and nurture children's natural desire to learn. Designing spaces for independence and freedom of choice. One of the core tenets of Montessori is the belief in children's ability to make choices and direct their own learning. In a prepared environment, every aspect is designed to support this independence. Furniture is child-sized, shelves are low and accessible, and materials are arranged in a way that invites exploration and decision-making. Unlike traditional classrooms where learning materials are often locked away or out of reach, Montessori environments encourage children to freely select what interests them, fostering a sense of autonomy and confidence. In a Montessori space, You won't find a teacher's desk front and center or rows of desks confining children to specific spots. Instead, the layout is open and flexible, allowing children to move freely and choose where they want to work, on a table, on a mat on the floor, or even by a window where natural light pours in. This freedom of movement is crucial, as it respects each child's need for physical activity and individual comfort. In turn, it supports concentration and focus, as children feel more at ease in an